Can the Eagles repeat? Nick Sirianni won't use that word. Plus, where does Jalen Hurts rank on quarterback rankings? And some linebacker previews ahead of training camp next on the PHLY Eagles Show. Good afternoon and welcome to a Monday edition of the PHLY Eagles Show. We are brought to you by Doodat Dental, the official dental partner of the Philadelphia Eagles. And we are here talking about the Philadelphia Eagles. That's Jamie Lynch. I'm Zack Baun. Julie is producing. And we are a week out from training camp now. The Eagles report a week from tomorrow. They practice a week from Wednesday. So we're kind of in that training camp mood. And the big question this year is, can the Eagles repeat? But Nick Sirianni does not want to talk about repeating. We'll get into that. Before we do, how was your weekend?
It was great. You know, one of those just kind of chill at home type of weekends.
Okay.
Had a little bit of swim meet for my oldest.
Nice.
I'm a swim dad now. You know, spent like 4 hours in the mugginess at the pool.
What's that entail?
Early hours, to be honest. I had to have Skylar to the pool at 7:30 for an 8:30 meet. So a lot of standing around, cheering. It's awesome.
Nice.
I was never a swim team person growing up. I see why kids absolutely love it because they do like one race an hour. They run around with their friends. They hound you for the snack bar, and it's like the ultimate kids kind of summer. So a little bit of swim meet and a little bit of just hanging around the house, doing some stuff, getting the guest room in order because we did a bedroom switch and just stuff like that. How about you?
Yeah, it was a fun weekend with the family. The kids had a lemonade stand on Saturday.
Nice work.
Teaching them about supply and demand.
All right, so maybe Reed's listening, maybe he's not.
Yeah.
How was his lemonade? Was it good?
Well, I took care of the lemonade.
Okay.
It was fine, yeah. But most importantly, they were raising money for Children's Hospital.
Oh, that's great stuff.
Yeah, they were good salespeople. They were drinking their own supply sometimes.
Didn't they listen to Biggie? You don't get high on your own supply.
I told them that. And they said, "But it's hot out. I'm thirsty." I said, "No, that's for the customers, right?" And then Reed went to the Eagles football camp on Sunday.
Okay.
In Ocean City, took him there. He really enjoyed it.
Nice.
It was going drill to drill.
So what does that entail? Is there? Because I saw Jihaad Campbell was in the NovaCare bubble this weekend with some kids. Is there no players down in Ocean City?
Barrett Brooks was the
okay.
So it was
Love Barrett.
He got to meet Barrett, take a picture with Barrett. But yeah, that they split it up. He goes station to station. Probably the one at NovaCare would have been more enticing. We did the one in Ocean City. It was fun.
Nice.
It was fun. He enjoyed it.
Good.
He got he got the Eagles camp T-shirt that he's been wearing.
Nice.
They gave him a headband. So the
headbands are back, huh?
Yeah, he's got as Bo would say, some serious drip, right? We miss Bo, and
he will be back soon.
He will be back soon. And also there was the unveiling on the last show, and then the Twitter announcement of the Ospreys.
Yes,
a Bo Wolf Julia Hoff production that is coming out on August 8th.
August 6th.
August 6th. I apologize.
And the site is live now if you want to get tickets. I believe there's a $100 package with unlimited food and drink. There's $20 to get in. I believe we're going to be donating some of that. So it's going to be a good time. It's going to sell out. And it's, we got to take the Hard Rock back, Zach.
That's true. Washington took it over.
It's ours.
The PHLY Eagles Show will take it back. And Washington fans took it over when they were hoping to win the Super Bowl. Did not work. The Eagles won the Super Bowl, and now
that was fun.
The big question is, can they repeat? I was with a few other reporters earlier this summer speaking to Nick Sirianni about it's something we do every year. It's this roundtable interview leading in to training camp. It's before Nick gets. So I get the question every year: why are the quotes embargoed? it's really so Nick doesn't have to talk to us like when he's on vacation, right?
Yeah.
He talks to us before he goes away. That's the time. That's the coach's time off during the summer, and then we kind of hold it for the week before training camp. So that's the reason behind it. And so you've seen there's a story out on allphly.com. You've seen some of these quotes at some other places. And really what this is about is there's a variety of topics we discussed, but about this central idea of the pressure of repeating. And Nick Sirianni says he will not use the word repeat with his team. Everything's about sustained success. And he talked about the pitfalls of teams that try, or where the emphasis is repeating and coming off the championship. And he's spoken to other coaches about this. And he said there are two different things they encounter. They either focus too much on the past, like on their previous accomplishment, or they're focused too far ahead on like the idea that they have to repeat. And there's not this live in the moment mentality. And that's really what he's trying to emphasize to the team. That's why he's not talking about repeating. And he gave this anecdote, Christian Parker, the defensive backs coach.
That was the one that stuck with me.
Yeah. I gave him this book, Daily Wisdom. And one of the passages in there was about when you run a marathon, which I've never done, and neither is
Oh
Nick,
God, no! I plan on never doing that.
But you don't think about the mile you just finished. You don't think about the miles ahead. You think about like the mile you're running right there. And so I thought that was an interesting framing. So I will turn this on to you. You've watched sports for a long time, covered sports for a long time. What's the onus of repeating, and do you think Nick Sirianni's handling this correctly?
I do think he's handling it correctly. I liked how, at OTAs, he basically said like, all right, party's over.
Yep.
It stops here. I think that's the way you have to take it. My big takeaway from your piece was actually that Christian Parker, that book there, because I think that's a great way to kind of visualize it as somebody that beats themselves up over their mistakes.
Yep.
I live too much. I
raised my hand. I did.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yep.
Like, I'll beat myself up, and it takes your mental capacities away from the moment. And if you're thinking about the finish line in the head, you're not thinking about in the moment. So, I think it's a really kind of dumbed down, simplistic way to think about it, but it is focus on the mile you're in.
Yep.
The mile you ran doesn't matter anymore. The mile that's upcoming, you can't think about how tired you're going to be or how thirsty you're going to be or if you're cramping. One of my parents' favorite sayings when I grew up was, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So there's no need in worrying about that. You can try to prepare for it, but that's what they're doing by being in the moment, right? It's like the foundational blocks you're building so that when you do get to that bridge, you're able to cross it without thinking about it. So I think that's a really smart way to go about it. That being said, I brought up repeating to you on Super Bowl night.
Yes,
I brought it up to you and Bo, and I was like, I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves here, but like, this team's going to be in a great situation again.
Sure.
So I think that's a admission from within the building that they know that they're in a great spot and they're going to have a really strong chance of running it back here. And it's just trying to mentally train everybody, all 75, guys on the roster. I know it's eventually 53, whatever it may be, to, all right, that didn't matter. The end of the season doesn't matter. This week, this practice, this moment is what matters.
Yeah, you're right. And it's something I remember covering the Eagles coming off of 2017. And it's a very real thing. Pat Riley talks about the disease of me, or the disease of more. And essentially the concept of that is, when you win, everyone kind of thinks they're the reason for it, right? And so, not to say that there's self-centeredness that comes in, but it's something that you're guarding against. And it's fascinating. There's a reason. Well, the reason why it's hard to repeat is it's hard to win the Super Bowl.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's so hard to get back. And this is something that, Sirianni needs to account for, in the sense that I think back to 2 years ago, it was the pain of that Super Bowl loss. I think back to last year, it was rebuilding the culture after the collapse. Like this roundtable interview that I get to do with Nick Sirianni every summer, a big part of that is you get to take his temperature on the big issue. And this year, it's like, how does he navigate that repeat element to it? Because when you look at it, the Eagles are tied for the favorites to win the Super Bowl. If you go to Bet365 odds, their roster's loaded.
Yeah.
They are returning 10 of 11 starters on offense. Um, defense, they lost some key pieces, but they have this young ascending core. They have a terrific defensive coordinator. So there's a lot of ingredients in place for them to be successful. But it's so hard. And so that's something that I spoke to Sirianni about. And it was interesting too, when you think about 2 years ago, one of the issues that the Eagles had was that there was such an emphasis on honing in on what they did, perfecting what they did, right? Whereas this year, he's talking a lot about evolving. And that's a different concept. And it's something that they didn't do enough 2 years ago. And he said, quote, if we do everything exactly the same as we did last year, then we don't get better. That doesn't work either. So what's your view of the best way to navigate that component of it? You don't want to break what was working, but you also, you want to make sure that you're evolving as well.
Yeah, well, I think there's a natural kind of like segue to evolution here, and that's the new offensive coordinator, right? Like you can keep things the same, but change up your playbook. You can change up a couple things. You probably want to have that new look that teams haven't accounted for, whether that be dialing back from the tush push or, going deeper, longer, or taking away from Saquon so he's healthy at the end of the year, because part of it is a war of attrition. The Eagles have been, I don't want to use the word lucky, because I think there's a lot of preparation and thought and sports science that goes into their health. But that's like a part of it. So I think that the offensive coordinator, from an offensive standpoint, it's like a natural kind of, all right, we need to evolve. We need to change. We have a new OC this year. So I would say that's part of it. And then just, like you're going to have that target on your back every single week. You're going to get everybody's best shot. And this schedule is tough this year.
Yeah.
So, it's just, we are the hunted now, not the hunter. And how are you going to protect your camp?
And yeah, it's a good point, because, and we'll get to it with the Jalen Hurts component of it, but you try to think, how can this team be better? Where is the area where the team can be better? And the obvious answer is the passing game, right?
Yep.
It's hard to expect Saquon to be better than he was last year. It's hard to expect the defense to be better than they were last year. But on the topic of trying to get back there, trying to repeat, Nick would say sustaining success. What do you think is the biggest challenge? What's in their way for doing that?
I mean, I don't want to come off too like cocky here as a fan of the Eagles, but probably themselves. I don't want to say the NFC's wide open, but I'm not shaking in my boots about any of their threats. The Commanders could be there. We talked about this on Friday a little bit. The Rams, you have to respect. Jared Goff gives me, no lost sleep the night before a game. It's kind of themselves. I honestly believe that this might be the most talented. This is all a credit to Howie Roseman and the front office and the scouting department, because the way they are set up, there's not a lot of flaws. There just isn't. I'm not used to having a running back, a linebacking core, and a cornerback core that I'm flat out giddy about. And you have all three. Like those are typically the Eagles' Achilles heels. Well, maybe not running back, but at least linebacker and cornerback to a degree. And you feel great about that. I mean, you have the best running back in the game. Zack Baun all of a sudden is a Defensive Player of the Year finalist. So I think themselves is the biggest hurdle. And I think Nick is already, has been working on, not self-inflicting, not smelling your own farts a little bit, like
is that an expression?
Yeah, you never want to smell your own farts.
Wait, can I workshop that a bit?
Yeah, you can. I mean, we're spitballing here.
Smelling your own. So you don't want to smell your own farts.
Yeah.
You want other people to smell them?
I mean, it's better than you smelling them.
No, I think it's part of the.
Yes. They're high on themselves. Like,
yeah. Oh, all right. That's what it means.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Like,
people like the smell of their own.
There is a thing out there where people do like the smell of their own farts. Yeah.
Wow.
All right.
God, but I get told on the show that there's a lot that I'm ignorant, but I've never met someone who is like that. That's interesting. Okay.
Here, Google AI overview. It's common for people to not be as maybe not like, but not as bothered by the smell of their own farts.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You learn something new every day on the PHLY Eagles show.
Yeah.
So
That didn't make the story?
That no.
Oh.
But
Well, give me a call next time.
there you go. Hunger did though. And on the topic of your olfactory sense. So
a long way of saying I think they're their own biggest obstacle.
So Sirianni says he's hungrier now than he was last season.
I get it.
And he says that when you win it, you want to experience it for those who have not won it. So he mentioned Adoree Jackson. He mentioned Park Frazier. And for those who don't know Park Frazier, he's a new assistant coach. Adoree Jackson, a new defensive backs coach. And, Sirianni gave the reference that when you play pickup basketball and you win, you're not like, all right, I'm done. Right? No, what you do is you want to stay on the court. You want to take on the next challenger. And he said that's kind of the approach that the Eagles have right now. And also, I think there's probably going to be some manufacturing of storylines, right? Or like people doubting us. And we'll get to one in the next break. That's a tease before the tease. But it's something too where, I asked Nick this when he signed his contract extension, that he seems to be at his best when there's tension.
Yeah.
Right?
And Shaved head Sirianni saved the season.
Yeah. And how do you create tension? And I think that's going to be a fascinating part of this offseason is how do you create that tension? Because there's no collapse to motivate them. And Nick actually he gave this anecdote of he was watching a documentary of the Bad Boys.
This was another one that stuck out.
And he said he sent a text message to his son. He said, quote, and he read the text message out loud. He said, remember Michael Jordan. He said, remember, Michael Jordan became the best player in the world because he lost to the Pistons, not because he won every time he played. Hard things are good to go through. And when we go through hard times, we remember stories like this. We will be better because of hard times. That's a winner's mindset. So that's something that Nick is really trying to convey to the team.
Yeah. I mean, I do believe that you have to lose. You have to be at your low point before you can win. There's, it's darkest before the light. Not to bring it back to like a summer swim team, but there's this girl on Skylar's team, an older girl, and she dominates everybody. And Saturday was their big opponent. And this girl, like setting pool records, team records, blah, blah, blah. And she lost on Saturday. And her mom is one of the coaches / managers. And I was standing right by her when her daughter lost. And she looked at one of the other coaches and she goes, she needs to learn how to lose. And she needs to learn that it's okay to lose and it should motivate you and it should help you get better. So I don't think the Eagles are where they are if they don't have that collapse. So I'm lockstep with Nick there. Like I really believe that's important to driving you in an off season. And now it's like you just kind of flip that motivation a little bit to, all right, now you've gotten over it and now everybody's coming for you. So what are you going to do to protect it?
Well said. If they're looking for motivation, they can maybe look at quarterback rankings, an off-season staple that has the Eagles quarterback ranked pretty low. We will, or I should say relatively low. We will get to that right after this break. Let me tell everyone about Empire Today. We all know that the Eagles have a high ceiling this year. Do they have a high floor as well? I think they do. But if you want to know where you can find the best floors, you need to go to Empire Today. That's where their home floor advantage is. Empire Today helps you with that. They are flooring experts, dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day. We've all been to these big box stores where you wander endless aisles and somehow you're hauling all these materials home, looking for an installer and coordinating everything yourself. These big box stores might have a flooring department, but the person helping you with flooring might have been doing sinks yesterday and could be stocking light bulbs tomorrow. You need to go to Empire Today for your new floor. They live and breathe flooring. They will be with you every step of the way. It's a whole different ballgame. With Empire Today, you get clear, upfront, all-inclusive pricing. Plus, you can schedule installation as soon as the next day. Nobody likes to wait. Schedule a free in-home estimate because some things are just better at home. PHLY listeners can receive a $350 discount when using promo code PHLY. Yes, you heard that right. A $350 discount with code PHLY. Restrictions apply. Visit Empire Today /PHLY for full details.
It's Pico. Did you like my smile? All right. We will filibuster for Julia for 1 second.
The air conditioning works great in here right now.
By the way.
Yeah.
Air conditioning top 2 greatest invention all time, and maybe not number 2.
Yeah, well, when we had those
storms, I am miserable in the mugginess.
When we had those storms 2 weeks ago, our power was out. For, I probably shouldn't say that before Pico.
Well, that was a storm. That was a storm.
Yeah, Pico came to save the day. But yeah, the not having air conditioning made me appreciate power and air.
I might have it #1 greatest invention all time. I swear, #1.
And so I will tell you, that was a weekend when it was that heat wave. It was like 100 degrees.
I am so cranky when I'm sweating.
It was sweltering in the house. So I was somewhere last weekend where I didn't have air conditioning. Unfortunately, I had the oscillating fan.
Oh, that doesn't cut it.
The oscillating fan, it helps if you get it like close to the bed, but then once you leave the domain for the oscillating fan, you're in trouble.
Ooh, toilets #1, Joe Rocket says. Not bad, not bad.
Here's what Pico has to say.
All right, Fran, here's an impression of me from yesterday.
Okay.
That's me walking into my house, sweating like a pig because it is feeling like a sauna in there.
Yeah, I mean, you know how it is. This time of year, this Philly heat, it's no joke.
So, what do I do? Do I go jump in a lake? It's not going to happen. So, I just got a bunch of ice, like held it, rubbed it on my face, stuffed it down my shirt, stuffed it down my pants. Only way I could think to cool down.
I mean, stop being the stereotypical dad, though. Like, turn on the AC. It's time to fire that thing up.
I don't want to be, I want to waste money, be energy efficient.
Well, look, instead of icing yourself out or jumping into a lake, you could just check out Pico's energy-saving rebates. They've got deals on Energy Star cooling equipment that actually work and cut down on your bills.
So, no more ice down my pants?
No, you could skip the ice, save the ice, and you throw in my drinks when I come over.
The same ice?
No, we'll change the ice up.
Okay, fine. That's what's up.
All right, well, just head over to pico.com/ways to save. They've got tips for everything. Heating, cooling, lighting, you name it.
There you go. So yeah.
So you want to know my AC hack for the summer that I read online?
Yes.
And it may be on Ways to Save. Check it out. Instead of always adjusting your thermostat to up or down when you leave or overnight, putting it back down, just pick your temperature that you and the missus agree on. Set it and forget it. Don't put it up when you leave. Don't put it down overnight. Yeah. If you just keep it at a steady temperature, the machine operates more efficiently because it's not constantly going up or down. And I think I've noticed it in our bill.
Okay.
I think we're lower than we were last year, and it seems to be working for us.
Are you you like it really cold?
Oh yeah, freezing. Because you can always add a blanket or a hoodie or something. If it was up to me, I would have the AC at probably 68.
Okay.
Probably could go lower. We settled on 70.
Okay. In a hotel room, what do you go with?
Oh, as low as possible.
Really?
Yeah, like 66. I want that thing like an ice box.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Where are you?
I'm in that range.
66 range?
No. Higher than 66.
Lower than 70?
Lower than 70.
Not 68?
Not 68. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I got you, ZB.
Yeah.
It's a good time. It's a good temp.
I don't
we
know
don't
why.
have to say it because we're all adults here.
I don't know why that's the number that.
It's a good number.
Maybe it was just like John Runyon growing up or something like that.
It's a good temperature.
Yeah. Anyways, Jalen Hurts.
What a segue.
Jalen Hurts here. Look, this is an annual summer storyline, and we've talked about this. We did our quarterback ranking, so we're no different. Right?
Sure.
But ESPN comes out with a list today.
Well, and do you put more stock in this because Jeremy Fowler talked to league executives?
Sure, yeah.
This isn't like an ESPN made up.
Yeah. Look, yeah.
There's a little more weight to this one.
Absolutely. Talking to the people behind the scenes. So I'm gonna read the names before Jalen Hurts. 1, Patrick Mahomes. 2, Josh Allen. 3, Joe Burrow. 4, Lamar Jackson. Okay, I
think that's fair.
That's around what we did on our show. This is when it starts to get interesting.
It gets a little nuts here.
5, Jaden Daniels.
Crazy.
6, Matthew Stafford. By the way, Jalen Hurts beat
both of
them in the playoffs. 7, Justin Herbert. 8, Jared Goff. 9, Jalen Hurts. So number 9 here on this list. And before I get I want your thoughts on this, and then I'm going to read a Nick Sirianni quote that I think is relevant. So your thoughts on him being number 9?
I think it's offensive. Now there is some league weight and brain power behind this, so I can't overreact to it because it is kind of what people in the know think.
Yeah.
So I give it that respect, but I love Jaden Daniels. I think he's a real heel for the Eagles for the next decade. I can see a world where Jaden Daniels becomes a better player in a short period of time as an individual. But to have him ahead right now of Jalen Hurts, I think is wild.
Yeah.
I think to have Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff ahead of him is irresponsible. Like that's where you completely lose me. To have him just ahead of Baker Mayfield, and not to take anything away from Baker Mayfield this year, but like, come on. Like, what are we doing? Jared Goff threw what, 5 interceptions in a playoff game? 5. Jalen Hurts plays his best football on the biggest stages repeatedly.
Yeah.
That counts. That matters. I don't know how you can, in any world you can have Jared Goff ahead of Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I am with you there. Surprised me to see that. I don't know what. No, I do know what more Jalen could have done. He could have been a more prolific passer, but
Sure.
he won. He did what he had to do, and that actually ties into something that came up with Nick Sirianni. Is there's this charge against Jalen Hurts that he plays with this great team, right? He's the benefit of the best running back in the NFL. Right? Yeah, the best offensive lineman in the NFL, perhaps the best wide receiver combination in the NFL. So Nick was asked what he thought about that, and he said, "I think that's bull bleep. I mean, he plays the most important position in all of sports, and it's the most ultimate team game there is. And what I admire about him is his selflessness of doing anything we need to do to win, whether that's throw. I mean, obviously, anybody who plays quarterback is going to want to throw it 50 times, but he will do anything. If he has to throw it 50 times a game, he's ready to do that. If he has to hand it off 50 times a game, he's ready to do that. And anytime I hear that, it's like a nice debate. It's a nice debate thing that people like to have, and I get it. There's a lot of hours that TV shows and radio stations and shows online too.
Digital sports networks, Nick.
Have to fill to be able to fill that debate. I understand that, but we're talking about the most ultimate team game there is, and he does whatever he needs to do to win each and every game. And so you name me a team that wins and wins consistently, that doesn't have good players around. You name me and speak on my end, like you name me a coach that doesn't have good players around him that wins. So yeah, so Nick's also, I would say close quote, Nick's also talking about himself there as well. Do you agree with what Nick said here?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, this team's loaded.
Mm-hmm.
You still have to win with it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like that's not always easy to do. We've seen plenty of loaded rosters in our lifetime. I mean, look at the Sixers over the past 7-8 years. They've been loaded.
Yep. They
haven't won because they don't have that. Sometimes it's a person. Sometimes it's the leader. Sometimes it's an X factor. Jalen Hurts has proven to be the perfect quarterback for this team.
You're absolutely right.
And end of story, right? Like he works here. Whether it's the way that his teammates follow him, whether it's his reading, meditating on the sidelines, whatever it is, he's perfect for this team.
Like the name of the game is winning. Right?
Yeah,
and he was Super Bowl MVP, completed 77% of his passes in the Super Bowl, threw 2 touchdowns, rushed for 1. It's hard to pick holes at the way he ended that season. And so maybe it comes down to he needs to be a more prolific passer. We'll see.
If it ends in a Super Bowl, I don't think he needs to be.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Now, Jalen might take umbrage with my ranking. I would rank him 5.
That's exactly where I am.
I did the play-by-play camp at Villanova 2 weeks ago. It was awesome to go there. Met some aspiring sports reporters.
Don't take my job, kids.
They're better on camera than me, so they might be taking my job. But I would say that they asked me, like, who's your top 5? And I went with Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, then Jalen Hurts. So I'm gonna pitch this to you. You can stretch at the top 10, but where's Jalen Hurts in your rankings?
I had him 5 as well, and I think Lamar has the MVPs. He has the spectacular regular seasons. Up until this year, he's had the playoff shortcomings. Sure. Now, Mark Andrews kind of really didn't help that narrative at all by dropping that touchdown pass with the game on the line. But I think you kind of have to put Lamar ahead of him.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Just because of the MVPs.
Sure.
But when it comes to playoff ball, if you have one game to win, are you taking Jalen Hurts or are you taking Lamar Jackson right now?
Well, this is what I'll say. I've covered Jalen now for his entire NFL career, and the 2 best games I've seen Jalen play were in the Super Bowls.
Yeah.
So if I had to win one game, Jalen Hurts has shown that he can rise to the occasion.
So that's what I think makes Lamar Jalen a tough decision, because of the playoff performances might be the most important performances. Joe Burrow is, I think, a ridiculous talent. Strong case to be made. He's the MVP last year. Mahomes, because he's done it. Josh Allen, if you want to have that debate, I think it's an interesting one, because Allen also hasn't gotten over that hill. Supremely talented, all the skill set, monster arm, nuts. His guys seem to love him. So I had him 5th. I think the highest I could put him was maybe 4th if I really wanted to go toe to toe and battle with somebody. But I think 5th is a safe space for him to be.
And so do you find it almost? I shouldn't use the term insulting, but when you see Jared Goff and Jaden Daniels, Justin Herbert, which one there do you think has the best case for being a
honestly, Daniels probably.
Interesting. Okay.
But the hardest thing to do about greatness is repeating it.
Yes.
Right? So, look, if you had talked to me this time last year, I probably would have had CJ Stroud 6th or 7th.
Yeah.
But he wasn't able to repeat it. The old sophomore slump. And what does sophomore mean? Wise fool, right? Isn't that what it translates to in Latin?
Is that right? I took Latin.
I believe it's wise fool.
Gosh, Mr. Peterson and Dr. Burke, I apologize.
Julia fact-checked me on that one. I think
Yeah.
I remember that from one of my favorite teachers at LaSalle, Mr. McCabe. And it was a sophomore English class. And he
was Latin required for you guys?
No.
Okay.
This was just the greatest teacher I ever had. And he
Okay.
basically was like, you guys think you know it all, but you're basically fools still.
And that's what sophomores mean.
Yeah.
I'm going to start using that. I like
stuck
that.
with me. So Jaden Daniels, he has to repeat it before you can crown him.
Sure.
So I think I understand where executives are coming from. You see the skill set, you see the talent, you see how he transformed an entire organization. But I think to put him ahead of Jalen Hurts yet is a little bit crazy, because you have to repeat it before you can stand on it.
Yeah. Here you go. Joya has this here. Sophomore comes from the Latin term sophium, meaning a clever but fake argument.
Okay.
Yeah.
Close enough.
Okay. Yeah.
Mr. McCabe might have paraphrased that into
Yeah.
wise fool to drive home his point.
Okay, wise fool
cool.
also. I like
Mr.
that.
McCabe. I knew he wouldn't let me down.
There you go. Shout out to the Explorers.
Ernie and Ed McCabe, best teachers ever.
Yeah, and so Jalen Hurts on this, the highest ranking he received was 6, which surprised me. So no one that Jeremy Fowler spoke to had him in the top 5. The lowest ranking was unranked, and I saw in the chat that we're taking engagement bait here, but
got a little thumbs up for Jalen here in the chat, huh?
I think what you said earlier makes me give more validity. Is this is from people in the league?
Yeah,
this is not just quote unquote talking heads.
It's not Colin Cowherd's top 10 quarterbacks. Chris Sims, top 5 quarterbacks.
I can't knock it because we had a show in June with our quarterbacks. But yeah, I understand that.
But some people do it for engagement farming.
Exactly.
I don't believe you and Bo were engagement farming.
No. We were. But I do read all the comments. So like, comment, subscribe, all that. So
I don't see how you could go lower than 5th, honestly, on any ranking. I don't care. That's where I was 9th. This is kind of crazy. Is he still that disrespected in the league? And ergo, is Nick Sirianni going to use that as awesome motivation for Jalen?
Yeah.
Look what they still think of you.
Yep.
2 Super Bowls in 3 years. You almost won 2. You played your 2 best games in the Super Bowl, and they have you 9th.
Yes, you're right.
You're right. Mull on that. Motivate. Let
Jalen,
that motivate you.
I'll tell you this. Jalen publicly does not like it to be known that, he says a lion doesn't concern himself with sheep.
Sure.
Which I'm always like, geez, why you gotta rip on me here, Jalen? I didn't do anything to you, man. But I think privately, he
definitely
he looks for fuel.
Sure.
And
we all do.
Yeah, he might keep receipts. And so this off season, not saying this ranking in particular, but in Jalen's mind, it's like, I just won a Super Bowl, man. So, and
I'd be pissed.
He says that. So I'm curious too. This doesn't fall in terms of the disease of me, but it is something I've talked about on the show for the past few months, which is that Jalen did everything he had to do last year to win. He has that Super Bowl ring. Now, do you think there's a part of Jalen that's like, all right, it's my turn to be not the Super Bowl MVP, to be the MVP?
Yeah.
To have I'm going to throw the ball more this year. I'm going to throw downfield more this year. You want to say my numbers aren't good enough? Pick your head up in January and look at my numbers. Do you think there's a part of Jalen or a part of the Eagles that are going to lean into that?
Well, you know him better than I do as a human being. I don't think it's in his DNA as an outsider to force something that's not in the best interest of the team.
Yeah.
Like he's not going to all of a sudden start doing something that he's not skilled at.
Yes.
Just to prove the doubters and the haters wrong. Like he's still going to do it within the framework of what's best for the team. And that's kind of like what makes him great, right? Like, yeah, Kevin Patullo might open up the passing game more, and maybe there's some more deep balls to AJ and Devontae, but like I don't think that's going to be him going rogue cowboy and just calling it himself so he can put up numbers. I think he's going to do exactly what the coaches ask him to do. Hopefully, there's a little bit more downfield and explosive plays this year. But if it ends in a Super Bowl, I don't give a damn what they run. So I think he'll possibly do it, but within the framework of what the coaches want.
Yeah.
So I like he works, like I don't think he needs to make a statement to the league. There's no bigger statement than to go out and make another Super Bowl and possibly win again.
Well said. Well said. Yeah. I mean, I do think he is going to pass the ball more this year. I think the Eagles are going to pass the ball more. And I think there's,
well, you want to preserve Saquon.
Yes,
right? That's
exactly.
probably a big reason why, and keep AJ and Devontae, happy.
Yeah. I've said this before, and I know people in the chat and commenters have pushed back when I've said this. They're not paying A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, nearly $200 million to be really good blockers.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, these guys are elite wide receivers. Jalen Hurts is from their perspective, a franchise quarterback, and I think they're going to lean more into the passing game this year than last year. I think they adjusted as needed last year, but I think defenses will adjust to them, and I think with Kevin Patullo, you're going to see more of a downfield offense this year than they had last year. Whether that comes to fruition, we will see. But you know what? We talked last week about the quarterbacks, the wide receivers, the running backs. So you know how we feel about A.J. Brown this year and Saquon Barkley this year and Jalen Hurts this year. What we've been waiting on is the defense. After this break, you will find out what the Eagles have in store at linebacker when training camp begins next week. Hang with us. I want to tell everybody about our friends at Do Dat Dental. We talked at the top of the show how they're a presenting sponsor. We're so thrilled to join them or to welcome them to the PHLY family. Let us introduce you to the team that helps you say exactly what you want with your smile. This is the team trusted to care for one of the city's greatest assets, the Philadelphia Eagles. Now entering their 5th season as the official dentist of the Philadelphia Eagles, Dr. D and his team have proudly served Philadelphia and its fans for over 20 years. They do it all from robotic implant surgery to Invisalign and Invisalign to veneers, emergencies, and so much more. They're locally owned and operated. Dr. D is a proud graduate of North Penn High School and Temple University School of Dentistry. So right here in Philly, in the Philly area. His commitment to the health and confidence of our community runs deep. Whether you're an MVP or a lifelong fan, that is the team you want caring for your smile. Check them out at PhiladelphiaEaglesDentist.com and discover how you can smile like the birds.
And, well, it's sweaty and gross outside. It is the summer of sweat right now. The humidity is off the charts. And you know what that leads to? Some stinky-ass dudes. Don't be a stinky-ass dude this summer. Find Mando, the full body deodorant. It's a deodorant brand that's hyper focused on keeping every aspect of a man's body smelling fresh and clean. And yes, we're talking every aspect. We're talking grundles and belly buttons and pits, and maybe you have some fat folds and some sweat gets in there and just really stinks up the place. Nobody wants to hang around that guy. Do yourself a favor and get Mando. Your butt crack, sometimes a little swampy out there. Take care of it. The scents are geared with men in mind, like Bourbon Leather and Clover Woods, Mount Fuji, and Pro Sport. And guess what? It's a whole body deodorant, so it's safe to use everywhere on your body. It was created by a doctor who saw firsthand how men's BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. It's clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours. It's baking soda free and paraben free, so it's good for that grundle. It's good for that butt crack. Get it in there and smell good with Mando. And if you want to try America's #1 whole body deodorant formula right now, you can find them in Walmart, Target, and other retailers across the country. And for the best deals, go to shopmando.com.
Jamie, you're a pro, man. I mean,
This is a serious matter.
You kill that Mando ad every single time.
I'm passionate.
Yeah, as you should.
Yeah.
Like, that's important.
There's nothing worse than like being in tight quarters with somebody that stinks.
I agree. Yeah,
Well,
I agree.
it's just rough.
Unfortunately, some people like to smell their own gas, right? So they're passing gas.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a problem. Yeah. So I agree. I agree.
And it's sweaty out there. I'm like this close to being a towel over the shoulder in the summer guy.
That's a big training camp move by some of the people on the beat. Yeah.
I respect it.
Yeah, my son Reed mentioned that he might be interested in playing hockey, and all I think about hockey players are those smelly bags that you have.
They're brutal.
My college roommate Brandon, shout out Brandon. He was a goalie in hockey, and he kept his equipment where we lived, and man, you would smell that equipment. So
when you get in a hockey player's car, you know it's a hockey player's car.
Yeah.
They stink.
Yeah. I agree with you, but sometimes I guess you earn that. You earn the odor, and those hockey players will be well served going to Mando.
Hey, real quick before you get to the rest of the linebacker thing, I just wanted to say, in looking at this quarterback list, when you get past Jalen and you get like in that 6 to 12 range,
yeah, you're not.
I feel like this is the weakest top 10 quarterback crop in a while.
Okay.
I think there's like a drop off.
Yeah, so you got
like if you're seriously talking about Jared Goff and Justin Herbert and Matthew Stafford as like your 6, 7, and 8s of the world, I don't know. I think it's pretty weak.
I hear you there. I think the honorable mentions here: C.J. Stroud and Jordan Love.
I had CJ. I moved him into 10 because of the sophomore slump. I'm gonna give him the respect that he's going to bounce back.
Yeah, I think those are two players who can really jump up this list.
Right? There's spots there for the taking.
Yeah, Brock Purdy is someone we'll see. I know you're not a Purdy guy.
I think he's about as mid comes.
Dak Prescott. I'm higher on Dak than some are. I've always been higher on Kyler Murray than most, but he hasn't done it in the playoffs, of course.
I think Jordan Love is mid.
I'm not as big on Tua. I'm not as big on Bo Nix. I know our DNVR friends will disagree with me there. I mean, I really think the next challengers are Jordan Love and CJ Stroud.
Yeah, I can see that totally. Yeah. But even like Justin Herbert, I saw the chat talking a lot about him. Like, I get why people fall in love because you see the arm, you see the skill set, but like, yeah. Like
you're right.
It's a lot of guys that are just like they're missing something.
Fair enough.
So that was my only thought. Like looking at the list and doing that exercise, I was like, I don't know. There's just like a lot of guys.
You're right.
And Matthew Stafford's a great player, but he's on like his final legs.
I like Herbert more than the chat does, but
I like Herbert a little bit.
Maybe I'm online a little too much because Herbert's like, what's he the Twitter quarterback according to my friend Emmanuel Acho. I like Emmanuel Acho more than Bo does too. So I always enjoyed covering Acho. Great quote in the locker room.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Acho was awesome. I mean, he gave me 4th game preseason stories like 3 years in a row. Terrific. Always enjoy talking to Emmanuel. So, and speaking of Emmanuel Acho, he played linebacker for the Eagles.
He did.
And he was look at that transition. It's probably not a good transition. I have to point out the transition, but Acho was part of linebacker cores often where you're like, how does this team look going into camp?
Oh.
Last year, when the Eagles went into camp at linebacker, you didn't know who was going to start. You thought Devin White was going to start. You're like, Zack Baun, is he going to be a starter? I mean, Nakobe Dean hadn't proved himself. The situation's a lot different this year.
Yeah.
A lot different. First off, because Zack Baun is the headliner of this group. Zack Baun was a bona fide first-team All-Pro last year. He finished. He was a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, like a standout player, Zack Baun. And now after 1 full year at linebacker, he's taking that next step. So he's the clear number 1. Now after Zack Baun, though, there's some questions, and the questions are twofold. Nakobe Dean is going to miss a lot of time. We know that.
Do you think they play him this year?
Yeah, I think he plays this year.
Yeah,
but I think it's going to take. I think it's going to be the middle of the year. Maybe a bit earlier than December, but
Mid-November.
yeah. I mean,
I mean, he is playing for money, right? Like he has
Exactly.
a contract on the line.
that's also why he probably doesn't want to rush back.
yeah.
but
That's a
you're
tough
right
one to
about that.
navigate if you're
Yeah.
him.
First round pick Jihaad Campbell is in that group, and obviously the Eagles are invested in seeing Jihaad Campbell develop quickly.
And do you think he's ready for week 1 action?
Yeah, I think he'll be back week 1. I think that's like an August return.
But I guess saying that, do you think he'll be mentally with the playbook?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he'll be the full-time starter then, but
enough to play.
Enough to play is my guess. Just I think the talent's going to be too much to keep off the field. But if it's not Campbell, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., Smael Mondon, Dallas Gant, Dixon, and Lance Dixon are in the group, and then Ben Van Sumeren is a fullback who can play linebacker. So let's start at the top of the depth chart here. What's your confidence in Zack Baun going into training camp?
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. You think there's no, I don't want to say sophomore slump.
I mean, there could be, but like I still feel great about him
Yeah.
heading into a season. I know what he can do rushing the quarterback against the run,
Yep.
coverage, sideline to sideline. He's everywhere. He seemed to trust his teammates to not sacrifice like his position on the field. Like the Cooper DeJean pick six was a perfect example. Like everything worked.
Yep.
Yeah, I have complete trust in Zack Baun.
Yeah. I agree with you there. And in talking to Zach, he thinks he can be even better this season.
Fantastic.
Right? And so, like last year, he was still learning a bit earlier in the year, and now he's coming along, and I think there's he's also going to emerge into more of a leader in the room. He's an important voice. So
where would you put him in the pecking order of team leaders? Because he was
good question.
The Super Bowl, he was mic'd up. Right. And they don't mic up people that aren't important to the team.
On the eve of the Super Bowl, he spoke to the team.
Yeah.
Right. And is
he in a top 5 grouping of leaders on this team?
Well, so I think you got to split it offense, defense, but because there's so many leaders on offense.
So is it Reed and him on defense?
Yeah. I mean, well, when the Kobe's healthy and Kobe's in there. Yeah. I mean, Reed is, I think, now the leader in that defensive backfield. I think in the front, I think they're expecting Nolan Smith to be a leader on this team. There's also, Jordan Davis, I think is someone who has some leadership attributes in that room. Jalen Carter's a little bit quieter, but obviously is a frontline player for the Eagles. But yeah, I would have to say that if Nakobe Dean's not out there, I would say Zack Baun is the leader of this defense.
Yeah.
And it depends how you define leadership, but I do think Zack Baun is going to be really, like cherished and treasured in that role.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
So then next to Zack Baun this year, if you had to guess, week 1, who's starting at linebacker?
I'm gonna go with Jihaad Campbell. I think Trot Jr. is probably a little bit of the safer play, and he might be out there for the opening snaps potentially. But I think like if you're going over the snap charts at the end of the game, I have a hard time believing that Jihaad Campbell isn't the second leading linebacker.
And look, when I think about like summer storylines, one of my big summer storylines is going to be how does Jihaad Campbell come along? Because he is so important to this team.
He's in a very important role.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason they spent that pick on him. 1, because they probably love his skill set.
Yeah.
But 2, Nakobe Dean. He's missing, and they need to fill that. And Jeremiah Trotter, I've heard you and Bo and Fran talk about it before. He probably is a guy you feel comfortable spot starting, throwing in some mix, but he's probably not like an everyday starter per se in the NFL. So I think Jihaad Campbell is thrust into a very important role on this team. And I think, I don't want to say he needs to be good, but he needs to be good.
Yeah, you're right about that. I mean, he's the third linebacker. And that could be the case even if Nakobe Dean comes back. We'll see when that happens. But then Smael Mondon's going to be an interesting player to watch because Smael Mondon is probably more comparable physically to Oren Burks last year than, Jeremiah Trotter is probably more comparable physically to Nakobe Dean. Do you think Smael Mondon can push Jeremiah Trotter Jr. if Jihaad Campbell's not ready?
From everything I've read from you and Bo and Fran talking about him and just seeing the way people talk about him on the field in OTAs and like the way he moves and he looks competent. So yeah, I do think, and he's coming from a system that produces pros, and these guys come in ready to play ball. And I do think there's a situation where he gives Trot something to think about. Yeah.
I think Mondon, the fact that he was a big contributor for Georgia for as long as he was, is
that counts.
That absolutely counts. I know they're expecting him to be a special teams contributor when he arrives, but I do think that he could potentially push Trotter. Now, Trotter has the benefit of being with the team last year. The other thing you have to think of too is like Zack Baun. Zack Baun really looked good in the postseason when he played Mike. And when I say postseason, after Nakobe Dean's injury, Zack Baun kind of slides over to that Mike role. And you look at the Super Bowl the way he played. You look at the NFC Championship game the way he played. You look at the divisional round the way he played. There's a lot there to like about about Zack Baun in that role. So then you say, all right, who can fill that weak side linebacker role? I would say maybe Smael Mondon is probably more natural for that weak side linebacker role. Time will tell, but that's going to be an interesting competition to watch because, like we said, we don't know what Nakobe Dean's timetable is going to be. And Trot Jr. is really instinctive, but he's not the biggest linebacker, right? And so if you have Baun and Mondon out there, you have two long linebackers. And I think that's one thing the Eagles really liked when they had Baun and Oren Burks was the length they had. Now, I'm the last person who should be talking about length of linebacker, but but that's certainly something to watch.
I guess the biggest thing for him in camp is just going to be like the between the ears stuff, and how quickly does he pick up Vic Fangio's system? Because when you hear the Eagles talk about it, what finally clicked, after the bye and all that, I think a lot of it was just Cooper DeJean simply being inserted into the lineup, but it was like everything kind of clicked for them. They started to trust their teammates and trust the space that they're in is the right space. And I think there's a big mental component of the Vic Fangio defense that might be difficult for Smael Mondon, even though he's coming from a big program. So I think the biggest hurdle for him might just be, understanding the playbook and understanding spacing and trusting your teammates.
Would you be disappointed if Jihaad Campbell's not the starter at linebacker?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, look, Jerry Robinson, 1979.
Yep.
And I know he may be an edge one day, but right now he's a linebacker.
Yeah.
If the Eagles' first-round pick that was spent on a linebacker for the first time in like 4 decades isn't a starter, I think there's a sense of disappointment. That's natural to feel.
Yeah, I think now. Look, if he doesn't return until mid-August, it puts him tight against the timeline. You think last year Cooper DeJean came to practice. He started practicing middle of
similar, right?
Yeah, like he was in New England, the joint practice. So that's the second preseason game. So that would be, if you look at this year's timeline, that's the joint practices with Cleveland. And they really didn't feel comfortable putting Cooper DeJean in the lineup until week 6. That said, Cooper DeJean probably was more ready early on and was more prepared early on, I should say. And I think if the Eagles had to do it over again, maybe they would have inserted DeJean earlier into the lineup and kind of just let him roll a bit. But I agree. I'm of the opinion, like, get your talent out there.
Yeah.
I mean, Jihaad Campbell has natural talent, has natural instincts, he has the size to play the position, the athleticism to play the position. You put him next to Zack Baun, you reduce some of the responsibility on him. And it's like you're just trying to terrorize offenses.
Yeah.
And the versatility that he presents. So I am with you there. I would get Jihaad Campbell on the field earlier.
Yeah, I want to see him, if he's able physically get reps in preseason, get out there and play. Like, I don't want to bubble wrap this kid. If he's cleared and ready to go, get him out there, because any experience he can get, even if it's preseason football, is only going to help him come week 1 or 2.
You're right about that. Now, elsewhere, the depth at linebacker.
How do you feel about it?
Yeah, look, I mean, Nakobe Dean's injury really affects the Eagles.
Yeah.
And
it sucks too for the kid, like on the biggest stage.
But this is not a position where you're looking at it like who's going to be on the 53, right? I think they go into the season with 4: Baun, Trotter, Campbell, and Mondon. My guess is Nakobe Dean starts on PUP, and then beyond that, you got Dallas Gant, Lance Dixon. I think those guys are competing for practice squad spots. I don't consider Ben Van Sumeren to be a linebacker. I consider him more to be a fullback. I know that that linebacker position is really beneficial for special teams purposes, but that's just, I'm expecting the Eagles to go with 4, and I think that they have enough there with Baun, Trotter, Campbell, Mondon. Now, if for some reason Campbell's not ready to go going into the season, then you're looking at Gant and Dixon. Gant was part of the team last year. I would give him the leg up. Lance Dixon comes from Toledo, transferred from Penn State. You can check out Fran's undrafted write-ups on allphly.com for more of that. But yeah,
Does he have the Quignon blessing?
Yeah,
If he's been
think
knighted by Quignon, then
Yeah.
I have no choice but to accept him as a stud player.
I think him and Max and Hook are the players there.
All right.
So
I'm in.
your overall confidence of linebacker going into the season?
I feel good because I believe in Jihaad Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
Look, for the longest time, I used to scream on the radio, like, just take SEC players.
Yeah.
Stop overthinking this. So maybe I give too much credit to Smael Mondon as a reserve, as a rookie, and Jihaad Campbell as a rookie. I feel solid about it. I don't feel great, but Zack Baun is a pillar, a foundational piece. And then I believe Jihaad Campbell's going to be a player. So I feel pretty good about it, with the caveat that, they are rookies and there may be a little bit of a struggle bus kind of learning curve here.
Yeah, Vic Fangio, look, his area of expertise is linebackers, right? And this goes back to, it's something I've talked to him about. He worked with Patrick Willis and Navarro Bowman, Pat Swilling, Sam Mills.
I interviewed Sam Mills once.
Nice. About the Philadelphia Stars?
Yes. Yeah.
How was he?
It was nice. He was nice. Yeah. It was cool. I didn't know much about him prior to the interview, so I had to do a ton of research on him, and I was like fascinated by him. It was interesting.
Yeah, he's like an icon with the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah,
and he's someone undersized, but was a real difference maker at linebacker. And so, this is an area of expertise for Vic Fangio. I thought Bobby King, the linebackers coach, did a good job last year. Obviously, the fact that the Eagles invested in Jihaad Campbell shows the way they view the position. I know there's some uncertainty going into camp because of the injuries to Dean and Campbell, but I think the high-end talent that Baun presents probably makes me feel most confident about linebacker going into camp anytime since, I would have to say,
that's
Nigel Bradham, Jordan Hicks in 2018 is really what I would have to point to.
And Baun was so much better than both of them.
Yeah,
I thought Bradham was a really good player.
Bradham was really good in 17.
Yeah.
But like you could say, Zach, what about TJ Edwards, Kaiser White in 2022? I didn't view them with the same confidence going into camp. I thought TJ did a really good job developing as the year went on, but I didn't have the same confidence going into camp about those players as I have now. So, or as I have now with Baun.
Have the Eagles ever had a Defensive Player of the Year linebacker finalist?
I mean, it's a good question. Maybe Trotter. He's the best linebacker the Eagles have had since Jeremiah Trotter.
And I don't think Trotter was ever in Defensive Player of the Year conversation.
No, I mean, he
was a good player. Borderline great player.
Like the year he had statistically is hard to match. But I don't think, I'll put it this way. There was a lot of conversation back in March about when are the Eagles going to do something? When are the Eagles going to do something? And I think from the Eagles' perspective, re-signing Zack Baun was doing
that was the number one most important thing.
Like what they did was they kept a bona fide Defensive Player of the Year candidate, someone who's emerging, a leader of the defense. So I have a lot of confidence in this linebacker core because I think when you have one stud, which the Eagles have in Baun, you can figure out the spot next to him. And then the upside that Campbell presents, and again, we have to see it, but the upside that Campbell presents really gives me optimism about this linebacker core going in the training camp.
Do you see a situation where Jihaad Campbell struggles?
I see a situation where
his skill set is a nice piece of putty for Vic Fangio.
Sure, it's a great question because
I haven't really thought about the negative side of it much.
So I remember going back to the Davion Taylor pick.
Oh, I talked myself into that track start.
Davion Taylor had such athleticism at that spot, and then compared.
You know what he was great at? He was good at the punch out in the preseason game. I was like, this kid's gonna put it all together. He's great.
But then you compare that to TJ Edwards. TJ Edwards went undrafted in large part because of his speed, and the one thing that really showed those two players was how much instincts matter at linebacker, more so than any other position. So I think that, not to say Jihaad Campbell doesn't have that, but this is a guy who was an edge rusher, moved to linebacker, and there's a lot there's relying on with athleticism that I think it might take some time for the instincts to come around. But I also think, like I said, if you put him on the field with Baun and you trust that length and that athletic ability, I mean, this was a bona fide prospect and he's a smart player. I would have confidence. He can disengage from blocks. There's a lot there to like. I would have a lot of confidence in Jihaad Campbell, and we will talk about this more when we wrap up the show in overtime.
Boom. Now, maybe the more important question here, Zach, is we talked about CJ Stroud, Jaden Daniels, kind of that sophomore slump, the wise fool slump.
Yes, I like
now,
that.
this is not Zack Baun's second year in the NFL. We all know that. It's what, year 5 for him?
Yep.
Maybe 6? Whatever.
6, but year 6 for Baun.
Yeah, year 6. It is his sophomore season with the Eagles. Do you see a scenario where, I'm not saying that he falls off a cliff, but there is a decline in his play from what we're expecting?
It's a reasonable question in the sense that, like, it's hard to play at that type of high level last year. And
But
I just
Saquon's not going to repeat what he did this year just because it was so great.
And I guess the best way that I can frame the question is that, or I guess frame the answer, is that I think there's a lot of variance with like high level plays, right? So interceptions, forced fumbles. Maybe you don't have those high level plays, but I think just as a reliable player, you're going to see him be really good this year.
Good.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you real quick. This is What If Week.
Yes, it is.
Okay? The PHLY Eagles
The
What If
second
show.
What If just went out.
There you go.
Number
Make
9.
sure the PHLY Eagles What If show is on Wednesday night.
Yes.
What is the under the radar what if that we'll be discussing on Wednesday?
I gotta look at my cheat sheet here. The under the radar. I'm so swimming with what if scenarios in my head. The under the radar Eagles one. I think a fascinating one is the James Bradbury defensive holding in the Super Bowl.
Okay. Yes.
Because the game is not necessarily over.
Sure.
If, like there's a field goal kick there in a tie game situation.
Absolutely.
What's fascinating about it to me is Jalen Hurts gets the opportunity with, you can correct me here, 1.5 minutes left in the game.
Yeah.
To have that 2-minute
down
drill,
3.
Down 3, chance to go down the field. Like that to me is I'm almost have goosebumps thinking about it. Like, does Jalen Hurts seize that opportunity and lead the Eagles down the field with under 2 minutes to go to beat Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl?
It's a great what if because, first off, I've spoken to Jeffrey Lurie about this, and Jeffrey said he just wishes Jalen had that chance.
Same.
Right?
I feel like we got robbed.
Jalen really didn't have an earnest chance to go downfield. I'm sitting there in Arizona at the time, and it was a late flag on the sideline. I know the Eagles were disappointed about that flag. If the Chiefs need to kick the field goal there, I do think Jalen takes them downfield.
So do I.
Now this is the thing. Maybe he doesn't take them downfield for the touchdown. Maybe they score too quickly. But that is a great what if because if you win that Super Bowl in 2022, the context of 2023 is different.
Totally.
Who knows if the Eagles would have won it last year? But you're potentially talking about the Eagles going for the dynasty here.
Yeah.
You're going for potentially 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. I think the way James Bradbury is viewed in Philadelphia is obviously considerably different. Like the first line of his football obituary, if you will, is that penalty in the postseason, is that penalty in the Super Bowl, as opposed to him being all-pro player that year, right? And then the other thing too is I think the way Jonathan Gannon's viewed in Philadelphia is different, right? Like Nick Sirianni, the context of his career is different. So much of like reputations in Philly were about the way they lost that Super Bowl, and if you win that Super Bowl, it's a fascinating what if. It's something I'm looking forward to discussing on Wednesday.
Yeah, it's gonna be a really fun week. So number 10 and number 9 are out. You should check out the content on the site. There's gonna be some great writing tied with social media, tied with YouTube. It's gonna be a fun week ahead. Really looking forward to these situations because they're not all painful, right? Yeah. Like some are things that happened that were good, but like what would have been different had this happened. So it's a fun exercise. It's been a lot of fun, a lot of hard work put into it by our behind the scenes people. So I'm looking forward to seeing the unveiling of it all.
Leave your favorite what ifs in the comment, by the way, in the comments. I will check them all out as we prepare for that show. Until then, we'll be back tomorrow. Jamie, always enjoy you filling in. Julia did an outstanding job producing as always. If Bo were here, he would say, as always, we love you. I will say we'll do better tomorrow. Thanks for watching.
It's a stare off. I got you, Joe Rockhead. I see you in that chat. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks to everybody for hanging out. We got a new piece of equipment in here that seems to seize up every once in a while. The old Mac Mini. It's really Tim Cook's foot. We'll just blame Tim Cook. It's his fault.
Well, so I'll give you one quick.
We got it?
We got
All
it.
right,
Great.
see you guys.
See you then.
We all silly like the mayor.